Hi everyone and welcome to the CX Industry Update. This edition I'm here with Brendan and Simon from CXNinjas. Now Brendan and Simon are the founders of CXNinjas and someone that I've been working closely with and introducing some of my clients to help with specific challenges. They offer a wide range of CX related services including sales training and mentoring, the CX Talent Academy, which we'll be talking about in a minute, and that's in partnership with Coventry University, as well as product marketing and go-to-market strategies. Individually, let's start with Brendan. His CX focus was reinforced early in his career by a director whose mantra was, think like a customer, act like an owner. And for over 20 years, he worked in customer services on the front line, then project leadership, then deploying customer service technologies in utilities and telecom sectors. Following that, he worked as a CX consultant and product marketer for Genesis across EMEA before co-founding CXNinjas with Simon. Simon, his CX story started in the early 1990s, launching one of the UK's first contact centres for an emergency home repair company. Whilst working for BT as a solution designer, he saw a gap in the market, wrote a business plan, pitched it to investors, secured investment, and launched the UK's first hosted contact centre. Following BT, his love of invention and challenging the CX status quo led him to develop an automated scheduling and planning solution for training in large contact centres. Genesis eventually acquired the company, and at Genesis, he designed and launched a service that bundled Genesis Cloud CX partner products into services and complete solution subscription packages for customers. Too many S's in that sentence. Brendan, Simon, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, James, for having us on the podcast today.
No worries. So Brendan and Simon and myself, we're going to go through 5 questions, the usual format like we do. We're going to be touching on what CXNinjas see as the areas of development within CX that are needed at the moment. And we're going to be focusing as well on next-gen talent development, looking at that partnership program they have Coventry with the Coventry University and why it's so important. What are the challenges of teaching and training within CX? How CXNinjas are handling that as a business, but they do something truly unique. So I do suggest everyone hangs on till we get to that point in the discussion as well. And some of the best examples of next-gen talent development that they've seen out there in their years and in the market. So both of you jumping in there. So tell us more, what are the 3 areas of CX development that you really see as being needed at the moment?
So James, hi. So I think there's 3 key areas. One is the next generation, right? So how do you find and nurture the next CX sales consultant or CX pre-sales support person, or the next contact center manager or workforce optimization expert? So it's that is a key area at the moment, and it's something we're very focused on supporting. So going into universities and colleges and inspiring the next generation to find out about our industry, get involved and learn and skill up to in the core skills that you need to be hired by a partner or by a company or potentially by CXNinjas. So that's one key area. Another key area is around the partners, actually, and the partners themselves needing support and enablement to accelerate, as we call it, in the marketplace. And that's not just about tools and marketing and sales, but it's actually about people as well. So where are they going to find the right people to help them accelerate, help them do the best they can with the products and services that they offer? So those are 2 key areas. And Brendan, let's have a third from you.
Yeah, I think there's still an area where the industry doesn't fully understand CX, particularly at senior level. And so some form of executive briefing and guidance on what exactly is customer experience is again gaining traction. And I go back to the partner situation as well. With there is a gap between vendor training and partner enablement, and that whole area of bridging that gap and making the partner much more self-sufficient and able to deliver both sales and installment of cloud software is again becoming a big area of interest.
And obviously, for those listening and looking in the newsletter, CXNinjas and Ximius, we work in partnership because obviously talent acquisition is part of what I do for my customers. And so this next gen talent program that CXNinjas have put together is really kind of one of the things that brought us together. And if we just focus on that and those three things you just mentioned, why do you feel specifically next gen talent development is so important within CX?
Well, our history in this area actually started off when we were working at Genesys a few years ago. So when I was at Genesys, I saw that there was a need for this, and how could Genesys, when I was working for them, how could they help and get involved in this area and actually not just talk about supporting the next generation, but actually actively get involved and do it. So, and that's not an easy thing for a big corporate. So really, what I saw was that in our lovely world of CX that we know and love, we work in it, we're passionate about it. Many of us have worked in it for years. I mean, Brendan and I have worked in it for too many years to remember or admit to. The problem is that we're all consumed in it, but actually other people, young people looking into our world, most of them see CX as call centers, and call centers as the only job you're going to get is answering the phone, or if you're lucky, being a team leader, right? And the pay isn't great, and there's not a lot of job promotion or opportunities. So it's not really for me. So when we were thinking about this program at Genesys, we thought, well, actually, what we need to do to inspire the next generation to get involved is to dangle some carrots in front of them of the opportunity of getting in front of some pretty massive customers, or the opportunity to get some sort of CV gold through actually designing real life solutions for real world problems. And that was the basis of the program, was to create an environment or a program that would be so appealing for young people that they couldn't say no. So where it all began was basically about 5 years ago when I was working at Genesys. I partnered with Coventry University, and that partnership has now been carried through into CXNinjas. And the first program we ran, we had like 3 students from the university who put their hands up and said, hey, we'd like to get involved. It was a pilot program, and we basically gave those 3 students the chance of a lifetime to build a CX solution using Genesys technology, as it was then, for one of Genesys's customers. And then actually, even more importantly, or more wow, present that solution live in person to the customer. Think of it like Dragon's Den on steroids. So that's exactly what we did. And we got 3 students signed up. They built some pretty cool stuff using augmented reality, plumbed into Genesys chat, and they presented it to the customer. And then as a result of that, one of Genesys's partners offered them an internship, Anana as it was then, Sabio as it is now. And one of those early pilot students, if you want to call them that, now works for Sabio full time. So we kind of saw that the program worked and that format worked. So we took it forward to the next year, and the following year we had like 15 students put their hands up because they'd all heard about the great stuff that had happened the year before. And we ran the program again, work experience. This time we included actual training in Genesys Cloud, which was run through Coventry University. So Coventry actually ran that academic program alongside their major degree course. So these were final year students. Towards the end of their 3rd year, they would elect or volunteer to do this Genesys Creator, as we called it by then, program alongside their major degree. They got Genesys Cloud training, and they got extra training from us in CX, CCaaS, strategic CX design, chatbots, digital marketing. So sort of the core skills you really need in our world. And we then ran that program for Uber. So they got in front of the main man from Uber, presented their idea. And then the next year, when I was at Genesis, my final program that I ran at Genesis was for eBay. So there were some pretty massive names. So we saw the success of that, people being hired by partners, people coming out of that program with amazing skills, going on to work for customers or partners or vendors. And we've taken that forward with Ninjas, and we're now running that as an academy. We call it the CX Talent Academy, with Coventry and soon other universities actually around the world through our Coventry relationship, to offer a program, if you like, for their students to get a baseline skill and knowledge level in CX and CCaaS and the other critical things that we know we all need in our industry now, including AI, of course, right? So think of all the ethics of AI, not just what is it and how does it work, but when do I deploy it? When is it a good thing for customers to know that they're not talking to a human? All those questions that customers need to know, we build that into the training. So the idea is, and obviously the link with you, James, is that those students, those graduates, the next generation come through the program with a baseline level of skills and knowledge in our industry, which means when they're hired or they work as an intern for a partner or for a vendor, they come with a baseline level. So they don't know anything, they won't come in knowing nothing about CX. They will get a good grounding from which we can then build. And what we've done now with Ninjas as a sort of an extension from the early work at Genesis was we offer the partner or the vendor additional mentoring from us as part of the program once they join the company or the vendor as an intern or as a hire. So once they come on board, we will further develop those skills whilst they're in the business. And because of, as you know, the training team is busy. Onboarding is very hard to do really well because everybody's busy. We're trying to sell, we're trying to develop, we're trying to implement, and not everybody's got time to spend time training and developing and onboarding new hires. So we can help with that as well as part of the program.
And some of those students will have come from a digital media background, and some will come from a programming and technology background. So we have access to a wide variety of talent to match what sort of role they might be, a vendor or a partner may be looking for. So are they looking for somebody who is digital savvy, or somebody who is a technical person who is able to program? Again, we're able to look at the best people to match to the profile of the vendor or partner.
And I think there'll be people listening to this who are probably thinking graduate recruitment, entry-level recruitment, next-gen recruitment, whatever term you want to use, needs to be part of our strategy to be cost-effective, to grow the business going forward, to insulate ourselves against changing technology, to make sure we're not just interviewing the same faces over and over again, to look at new markets. And maybe they're not sure the first step to take. And that's where, listening to what you both said there and describing it so simply means that they can see CXNinjas as a solution for that as well. And I think that's reflective of the broader talent landscape as well. And then you touched on, obviously the training element, the training and the mentoring. What do you see as the specific challenges around teaching, training, CX?
I think one of the biggest challenges, and Brendan and I have been through this, and as we all have, is the dreaded e-learning. One size fits all, right? That the belief is you can build an e-learning course, which is usually massive in length, and then you sit somebody in front of the e-learning course and you see, there it is. There's everything you need to know in a 4-hour course. Just be quiet, sit down and go through it all, and we'll give you some tests as you go just to make sure you've remembered everything. And then, of course, you finish the course, you might have retained a percentage of it. I don't know what it is normally, but it's not a lot, right? No. And then within a week, you've forgotten a lot of it anyway. Because if you don't apply those skills straight away, if you don't start using that knowledge and know-how, you forget it pretty quickly.
And some of the testing is very much a case of they'll test something, tell you you've got your answers wrong, tell you what the right answers are, and allow you to go back and re-answer the question. Well, that's giving you the answers and allowing you to redo the test once again. So second time around, of course, you're going to get 100%. So yeah, e-learning has its place, but I don't think in what we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah. So for CX, and which is such a relationship-based world, right? It's not just the know-how; it's the trust you have to build with a customer in the process of consulting and implementing and working with them. That trust comes from the know-how and the knowledge of the person sitting in front of you, and that know-how and knowledge can't just be taught through PowerPoint slides or e-learning courses. It has to come from mentoring. It's the good old-fashioned way of teaching using storytelling. So you use examples, you use case studies, you work on them together, and you use visual storytelling aids, which is what we've been developing, to help teach those, not just the basics, but some of the advanced stuff as well, that our world of CX demands that you know. So the challenge is really, how do you create that storytelling interactive environment in a way that can be replicated across lots of different vendor solutions, lots of different CX challenges, in a way that can be scaled. And that's what we've been building and developing at Ninjas. Because of course, e-learning is great for that one size fits all scalability solution, but it's not good for the consultative selling sort of world that we live in. And
there are subtle differences between the vendors. So you need to be able to understand that chatting this vendor and chatting that vendor may not be the same. So you have to have sort of 80% of it is about teaching the basics, but 20% of it has to be about teaching its application and use within an environment. And so that, as Simon has said, is all about understanding where it's being used and how it's being used, and mentoring through the process of understanding its application in use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, Brendan raises a good point. Wouldn't it be great if all the vendors called all their products exactly the same thing? And bundled them together in exactly the same way, and then it would be a straightforward, right? This is an ACD, this is a WFO solution, this is a whatever it is, but they don't. So when we onboard and mentor students or consultants, then we have to tailor what we have to the solutions they're selling to a degree.
Yeah, it comes across. It's that multi-vendor, vendor-specific approach that you can take if needed. It's that verticalized approach as well that you can take if needed by sector. And I think it's that real-world experience that enables you to tell stories and gives graduates that do not have that experience the ability to relate what it is they're selling and offering to real-world scenarios, right? And I think that's a unique blend of things that the CXNinjas do and have. And I was going to ask you, our next question was how do you specifically tackle those challenges? I think you've covered quite a lot of that, but I mean, can you think of anything we haven't touched on there about the offerings and the approaches that you take that really help say partners, for example, if they're looking to train their CX into their sales team?
Well, I think one of the really important things we do is we work on live sales opportunities together with the new hire or with the consultant that we might be turbocharging their skills for. Yep. It's not just a case of everything's done in isolation and then here's the theory and then go away and put it into practice and tell us how you've done. Their success is our success. So we work together. In fact, some of the commercial models we have include a kind of percentage for stuff that we help get over the line. We're happy to sort of look at that as an option because we're in it together. So we use cloud migration business cases or upsells or whatever the sales opportunity might be. We'll use that as the focus of the mentoring and the program that we deliver. So as we work on things together, we'll bring in the know-how and the skills that we have. We'll work with that person because everybody's different. They'll have different skill gaps. They'll need help in different areas. And you will know this from your work, James. And then we'll hopefully, create success at the same time as mentoring. So we're actually helping the partner hopefully win more business as we are delivering the mentoring and the training that those people need. Almost as an extension of their own, pre-sales team.
And again, we don't look at training 3 or 4 hours at a time. We would break that down into bite-sized chunks, micro learning, so that the candidate gets a chance to assimilate what they're doing into their everyday life. So, it may take 2 or 3 months to get through this training, but in that time, they'll have had time to apply it to their real world opportunities, and to learn and revise what they understand of each situation.
Yeah, some of the best training I've had in terms of my career has been exactly that model, where you have short sessions and you're given a period of time to act those skills, that thing out on a number of live opportunities, and then you report back, and then the trainer's able to move you through that journey. And a lot of the people that will be listening to sales life cycles, they'll be looking at 3, 6, 9, 12 months anyway. So 3 or 4 hours of intensive training 9 months before you need it is not as useful, right? And that goes back to what we were doing when we were talking about e-learning and the LMS type systems as well. But I mean, I'm a bit of a positive Pete, so I always like to ask people this question and look for these examples of where you've seen people doing best practice and it really working well, thinking particularly about next-gen talent development and bringing people through at a graduate level. What are the businesses that you've worked with who you think have got that really right, and I guess why?
Well, obviously Genesis, because we started the program there, and that's continuing to run. So we're actually helping Genesis now deliver, some of that through with our partners Coventry, as a continuation of the original program. So that they're a really good one. I mean, I think the relationship with Coventry and the work they're doing is really important as well. They have fully embraced this to the extent that they're giving us use of their facilities. There's a building in as an option to the degree courses that they're offering, the students coming in now. And we're even talking about running some events actually on site with them as well. So, they
have a Harrier jump jet.
There's a Harrier jump jet option, which we'll reveal on another podcast. But yeah, we're trying to, again, just do things a bit different, including literally sky high different. So that, those are really good examples. And I think the other thing I would say is that we're all getting older. And the CX talent pool is getting older as a result, and people are beginning to retire, and unless we all of us, everybody listening to this podcast as well, really addresses and starts to think about this problem or challenge of the next generation and where it's going to come from, in a few years it's going to become a bigger and bigger problem, because there just aren't enough of the classic CV sort of scoped people out there to keep hiring. And as people retire and leave the industry, then it's going to get a bigger and bigger problem. And the other thing we're seeing actually from partners is they're looking at this and wondering, is this an opportunity when we onboard the next generation to have them focus on a new solution, a new product that we want to start reselling or implementing? So rather than skilling up the people we've already got in another vendor's product, actually use this new cohort to come in and just get them focused on solution B, maybe because it's more of a digital offer, or it's come from a pure play UCaaS background, or whatever it is. So this is the chance to get that next generation who know more about that, maybe because they've been doing it since they were babies, to focus on those newer solutions. So that's an interesting thing that we never really thought about when we started Ninjas, but it's certainly being thought of quite seriously now as a strategy for the when we're talking to some of the partners?
I think another area is almost CX for the non-CX executive. So how do you train those? If you're in a partner, but you're in the finance department or in the HR department, or you're not directly sales facing, how do you develop those people so that they have at least an appreciation and understanding of customer experience, so they can talk to their friends and family about what their business actually does? Again, another area that people coming in from outside of the industry, perhaps into a sales role, but maybe have not sold customer experience before, how do they become supercharged and efficient as quickly as possible? There are a lot of areas that talent pool is going to grow beyond the students. So how do we make other people become CX professionals? It's another area that we're focused on. And again, with the university discussions, they've talked about things like now a CX master's course or a certification in customer experience, or maybe a diploma or something in customer experience. How do we create some form of sort of qualification around customer experience, as it is now becoming the biggest topic to businesses now worldwide? It's talked about as the number one investment.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, almost every business, CX is a key aspect of revenue generation, yet it's probably one of the most criminally misunderstood by 9 out of 10 people. I think I told you both when we spoke last, I was on a meeting with a colleague who I've worked with for years, and he looked, and we get on really, really well, and he looked at me and he said, "That's call centers, right?" And and that's what people think. But you're going to have the next generation of talent who their experience with CX, their expectations of CX is entirely different, and the demographic makeup is entirely different. So anyone thinking about their hiring strategy for the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, the growth of the business, product development, they need to be thinking about diversity. They need to be thinking about diverse experience, age, and background, and expectations. And it ties into everything both of you just said. And it sounds like there's some really exciting plans for the future with certifications and diplomas. And great shout out there to Coventry University and of course Genesis as well, and some intriguing Harrier John mentions as well. So,
we'll get you in it. We'll get you in that. Don't worry.
Love it, love it. As always, love speaking to both of you. Fascinating stuff. Really appreciate your time again, and look forward to speaking to you both again soon.
Thanks very much, James.
Take care.